Yeah, you really feel that power coming on now. 26, 27. This is the Ride1Up Core-5 electric bike, and in the next few minutes, I'm gonna give you a review of it. Today, we're here in sunny Venice, California, just a few miles down the street from my home office slash apartment. So let's get to it. So in the next few minutes here, I'm gonna go through all the specs of this bike, tell you all about it, but let's just start out here, right up here on the dashboard, so to speak. To turn this bike on, you just press down this button right here and it powers up the display. And you get 5 levels of power assist, level 1 through 5. So far, I have about 310 miles of experience on this bike. And so far, it's been an excellent bike. So in the next few minutes here, I'm going to try and do my best to convey the value that you really do get for this bike, considering it's about $1,000 and it's a class 3 electric bike, which means it is a 750 watt continuous power output with a 1000 watt power peak output on this bike. Now, normally if you go to the store to buy a bike, you know, you can expect it to cost way more than $1,000, and it doesn't even come with a motor on it. So this bike does come in multiple colors. I chose to get this mint looking color. I forget the technical name for it. I'll put a link below in the description box. It comes in a brighter blue and also a black color, but I really like the look of this color on the Core-5. Taking a look back here on the rear wheel, you will see that this is a hub motor bike. It's not a mid-drive bike, but one of the things about the hub drive motors is they tend to lack the ability to climb hills well. However, to combat this is a bike with a Shimano cassette with a derailleur and gears, so there really is no problem climbing hills on this bike with the gears and the 750 watts of power. So to demonstrate the hill climbing abilities of the Ride1Up Core-5, what I'm gonna do is go up this ramp here to leave the parking garage on the granny gear, the big one, you know, number 1 with the most torque to the wheel. And I'm gonna have it on pedal assist 5, and I'll pedal lightly, but what I'm gonna do is start from a dead standstill right at the bottom of the hill here, so there's no momentum leaving, and then just all the motor pretty much and a little bit of legs. Another thing to take into consideration on this hill climb is I weigh 195 pounds. So if you weigh less than that, then it will probably climb the hill more easily for you. And this is a really steep hill. I know cameras don't really do hills good justice, but this hill is pretty steep. Also, I should point out that there is 60 Newton meters of torque on the motor on this bike. So in addition to the 5 levels of pedal assist, which you just adjust here basically by pressing these buttons up and down, there's also a thumb throttle on this bike. So if you don't want to pedal on this bike, you actually don't even have to pedal at all. You can access any level of power assist by just smashing this throttle. So as I mentioned, there are gears on this bike, and it is a Shimano shifter. There's 7 gears that you adjust by pressing here and here. So it's a little bit different than a conventional bike where the thumb adjuster is underneath the handlebars. However, this works perfectly fine. So as I'm sure you're probably wondering, how fast does the Core-5 Ride1Up bike go? Well, with the thumb throttle assist, it'll assist you up to 20 miles an hour just by using the thumb throttle. However, if you want to go faster than that, you have to use the pedals. Using the pedals on the Core-5, you can take this thing up to 28 miles per hour before the pedal assist will cut out, and then you're just on your own. It's a lot of power, which we just unlocked now with pedal assist 5. Really moving 24, 25 miles an hour, 26, 27. Yeah, almost 28 miles an hour. For my purposes around here on the beach, using the thumb throttle to go 20 miles an hour is more than enough, and 28 miles an hour out here on the beach path is just ridiculous. As I mentioned before, this is a class 3 electric bike, so this is basically as powerful and as fast as you can legally ride an electric bike. So now that we've addressed the speed that the Core-5 Ride1Up bike can go, you're probably wondering, what is the range of this bike? So according to the manufacturer's specs, this thing can go about 20 to 40 miles on a battery. So the battery is right here, and it can actually detach and come out of the frame. Up here by the top of the battery, you can simply slide in the key here to unlock it and pop the battery out. So you can, in theory, buy a second battery if you would like. And here's what it looks like. This is the size of it. It's got a little bit of mass to it. You know, it probably weighs about 10 pounds. It is a 48 volt battery and 10.4 amp hours. As you can see, you can just drop the whole thing right back down in there. So it is possible, if you're really planning on using this bike a lot, you can buy a second battery and swap them out. And then, yeah, you got your key right there. So obviously the amount of range that you get on an electric bike is gonna significantly depend on how you're riding it. You know, it really depends on how much weight you have on the bike, if you're going up and down hills. And really, one of the big factors is how fast you're going. Are you smashing it on pedal assist 5 and really just cranking out all the juice you can get out of it? Or are you cruising, putting down more effort on like pedal assist 1 or pedal assist 0? In my experience so far in the Core-5, range really hasn't been a big concern. Now the battery is kind of like a middle of the road on the amp hours. It's not like a huge battery, but it's also not small. I've personally taken this bike on multiple 30-mile adventures, and you know, the battery can start to get down there after about 30 miles, especially if you're really smashing on that thumb throttle and really just cranking out some really high top speeds. All in all though, battery size is something to really kind of take into consideration. You know, if you can put a massive battery on there, but then that's really going to start weighing the bike down a lot more. Sure, you're going to get more range, but the thing is going to get a lot heavier. So speaking of weight, how much does the Core-5 weigh? Well, this bike weighs 49 pounds out of the box in its stock form. I should mention that this bike is not completely stock. I'll tell you more about my mods here in a minute. But while we're talking about weight, the maximum user weight of the Core-5 is 275 pounds according to the spec sheet. So talking about mods here, I have this rack on the back. It's not the most beautiful rack. I've actually had this rack for probably about 5 or 6 years now. And it's not the rack that the Ride1Up company sells. This is my own rack. I just kind of put it on there. But it's been excellent for me though, because I can just throw a little beach bag on the back here, bring this bike out to the beach and have a little beach day. Also, the saddle that I have on here, this is the C9 saddle. This is a wider seat than the stock one. The stock one's fine, but this one is a little bit more cushier and wider. Also, I do have this little phone mount up here that does not come on the bike stock, and a little mirror here for seeing behind me. According to the manufacturer's specs, this bike will fit somebody anywhere from 5'6" up to 6'4". I am 6'5". The bike fits me. You know, I am probably towards the maximum end of the spectrum to fit on this bike comfortably, but I am comfortable on this bike. I actually find it to be a very comfortable riding position with how the seat kind of sits back, the frame geometry. It is an alloy frame, so it is all aluminum. And also the riser handlebars, it just gives it kind of like a little bit more relaxed riding position. Also these ergonomic grips, like as you can see here, if you look closely, the grips are kind of like a more ergonomic shape. It fits the palm of your hand. So I do find that this Core-5 is a comfortable bike to ride. Another thing that factors into the comfort on the Core-5 is these thick tires. On the back as well as up here on the front, you do get the Kenda Quick 7.5 tire. They are a 27.5 inch tire, and they are 2.2 inches wide. So these tires are a thick and plush, comfortable tire to ride on. They really eat up a lot of the road chatter, and I really find that these tires are really nice to ride on imperfect streets. I'm back here in the alphabet streets of Venice right now, going the wrong way down a one-way, you know, some rebellious stuff. But this bike, like, it's really just great to ride. It really just eats up all this road chatter. Like, I don't know if you can like look at these streets, but Dude, they probably have not paved this street in 50 years. All right, that might be an exaggeration, but there's a lot of cracks and imperfections all over, and the tires on this bike just feel excellent compared to like my road bike. Just really a comfortable, smooth ride. And you can, oh, got a little air right there. Another thing about the particular tires that come on the Core-5 is they do have a puncture resistant feature built into them. So I have not got a flat on these tires yet. You know, it has only been about 300, a little bit over 300 miles I've spent on this bike, but so far they've held up good, and they've been good. So let's take a closer look at the rear cassette on the Core-5. It does have 7 gears. It is a Shimano Altus derailleur, so changing the gears has been really a breeze. You know, it has a little shifter up here. They shift perfectly good, and it works really nice. And it's really just excellent since this is a hub motor. A lot of times, you know, like I mentioned before, hub motors kind of tend to lack on their ability to produce torque for climbing hills. So by having this range of gears, this big gear back here, the granny gear, is great for climbing hills. This thing can climb hills like really nice compared to other hub motor single speed bikes I've ridden in the past. And then, you know, it's got the smaller cogs here for a higher top speed. So in case you're wondering, this is a 32 tooth cog here, and then the small one is a 11 tooth cog. And then up here on the front, you get a 44 tooth gear. So the gearing is pretty standard, and you know, it's all Shimano. So Shimano does make quality components. I ride Shimano on my Cannondale road bike, and I mean, you can't really complain about Shimano. They make some good stuff. Additionally, I'll try and zoom in here on the chain. It is a KMC chain, and again, you know, it's another quality component manufacturer. This is the KMC Z7 7-speed chain on this bike, and no problems yet. It shifts really smoothly. I am starting to get some sand in there, so it is going to be time to give this chain a cleaning pretty soon, considering being out here by the beach in Southern California. Sand is really just not the best thing for these drivetrains. However, you know, I've taken it out on the water plenty of times now, and everything's still working good after 300 miles or so. So let's take a quick look at the brakes. They are disc brakes. They are Tektro disc brakes. Up here on the front of the bike, you can see there are also disc brakes. Now these brakes are sufficient. I will say that they are not like the greatest brakes. However, they get the job done. Almost 28 miles an hour. So once you get up to about 28 miles an hour, and there you go, the brakes work good. They will definitely stop this bike. It is a 49-pound bike, so it is important to have some good stopping power when you're carrying a little bit more mass than, you know, like a road bike that weighs 20 pounds. So now I'm gonna go ahead and talk about a few of the downsides of this bike. So, you know, I mentioned the color of this bike is absolutely beautiful. I love the look of this bike. It is gorgeous. Now, as far as the paint holding up, I think that you need to be a little bit careful about not scratching it. So if you look here closely, you'll be able to see there's a little bit of an imperfection there. And that's probably just from me like hitting it up against one of my other bikes or throwing it on like a bike rack. Over here you can see a little bit of an imperfection there as well. So out of the box, it is a beautiful bike. I love the look of it, and I've gotten a lot of compliments on it, but just be careful to kind of preserve that paint, you know, just don't smash it up against metal stuff and it'll probably be all right. Another potential downside is, I don't know if you're a stickler on welds and that sort of thing, but you know, the welds aren't like the prettiest. It gets the job done, and I think most people would just not even notice something like that, but yeah, you can see they're not like perfect. Same thing right down here by the front gear, you can see just a little bit of like weld marks. However, overall, you know, from a distance, it's a great looking bike. Like I mentioned, I get a lot of compliments on it, and I do like, you know, that they did a pretty good job with the cable management. Cables run down here into the frame, so they're kind of hidden away. Not completely hidden away everywhere, but you know, it looks pretty good. So here's another potential downside, the recharge time. It doesn't recharge particularly quick, so it does take quite a while. I'll go ahead and put those specs down here on how long it takes to recharge. Basically though, you know, if you ride this thing and you need to recharge it, it's gonna take a little while, a couple hours to recharge. So you can't really expect for it just to charge back up, you know, in like 20 minutes and you'll be back on the road. One other potential downside for you on this electric bike is the hub motor. You know, it's a hub motor, and hub motors, they tend to make a little bit more noise than a mid-drive motor where, you know, the motor would be mounted up there in the bottom bracket. So there is a little bit of noise that this hub motor makes. I find it to be perfectly fine and acceptable. But, you know, if you're looking for a ride that's completely silent, this bike does make some noise, and you should know that. So, I mean, overall, let me just give you a quick little summary basically on my thoughts and experience on this bike. You know, I love that it has the thumb throttle. I do have an electric bike that does not have a thumb throttle, and it really makes a huge difference to have that thumb throttle. The other part that I really like about this is there are 5 levels of pedal assist, meaning you can really set that pedal assist on a very weak level and get yourself more exercise and also crank more range out of that battery by lowering that pedal assist down to level 1 or even 0. But also, if you're ready, you know, if you want to go fast and get that full pedal assist, you can just crank it up to 5 and have the time of your life. And of course, the riding position. I find this bike to be very comfortable. You know, the riser bars, and after swapping out the seat to this plusher, wider seat, the riding geometry of this bike is excellent, and I find it to be really comfortable to ride. So overall, I think the Core-5 Ride1Up electric bike is a tremendous value considering it costs just over $1,000. I mean, you can easily buy a bike that costs well over $1,000 that doesn't even have a motor on it. Anyway, the Core-5, you know, it has a lot of quality components. It's got those 7 gears, Shimano shifters, disc brakes, a decent battery, 750 watts continuous power output, 1000 watts peak power output, and good range overall. You know, this is a fun bike to ride. It's comfortable, it's exciting, and I've really been enjoying it. So if you're interested in checking out the current prices or purchasing a Core-5 electric bike, check the link below the video in the description box. You can see the current prices and any discounts or specials going on down there in the description box below this video. And of course, if you would like to support Tail Happy TV, you can do so by purchasing through the link below at no additional cost to you. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, leave a comment below, and I'll see you in my next video.